Did I ever tell you what the definition of insanity is? Insanity is doing the exact same fucking thing over and over again, expecting shit to change. That is crazy. And then I started seeing it everywhere I looked, all these fucking pricks. Everywhere I looked, doing the exact same fucking thing over and over and over and over and over again, thinking this time is gonna be different. No, please. This time is gonna be different.
Oh, Jesus.
So a wee while ago I made a video detailing why I thought Resident Evil 7 was a great game and why first person is superior in almost every way to third person in the context of Resident Evil. The response I got to that video was... I felt the need to follow up on that video because of all the news, leaks and rumours surrounding Resident Evil 8 and how the exact thing I fearfully predicted
may actually happen. So be good, for goodness sake. Whoa!
I'm primarily talking about the new wave of rumours that have hit the web in the past week or so. Rumours that make a huge fan of RE7 and the originals like me very happy. But of course, as always... So I'm back to give my view and why I believe these rumours would mean great things for Resident Evil 8 and why fans of 5 and 6 are idiots. Let's start with the Resident Evil 3 remake. 3 being my favourite of the original trilogy, I'm obviously excited to see it getting remade. I'm not even mad that it's not fixed camera because it's a side game, a remake, it's not the be all end all. However, by continuing down that path, Capcom have effectively killed any and all chances of a fixed camera game being made, which is depressing, but as a fan of 7, I can get behind the first person perspective. To elaborate on the point I made in my last video, I'll repeat it. Fixed camera games were restrictive, and it was great, your view was limited, and you never felt as if you were in complete control. For a survival horror game, this is a good thing. But with the introduction to the switch to third person in Resident Evil 4, you were handed that control back, and as a result could shoot anything in your path. As fun as that was at the time, it strips all horror bar from a few scary looking enemies and locations or whatever, which isn't enough to carry a full horror experience. Oh, and in case anyone blissfully missed out on it, here's what came after that. Now thankfully Capcom took a little time to sober up and rehab and we got Resident Evil 7, which brings back a lot of what was lost from the fixed camera days. Not all was brought back, but unlike the third person games, the new stuff that was brought in complemented the horror experience rather than kick it to the curb. And that takes us to Resident Evil 8. Not liking something because you're not really in the first person games is okay. Acting like a complete twat and whining because Capcom made a Resident Evil game instead of Gears of War, well, that's less okay. As I'm sure you've already heard, some notable sources have leaked all sorts of rumours about Resident Evil 8, this, that and the other, but one thing that sticks out is the remaining first person perspective. And you can already guess how some folks reacted to that. But here's my point, here's what I'm putting forward. Let's pretend for a minute that 7 isn't a callback to the originals and a competent survival horror game that deserves the Resident Evil name and just happens to be first person. Can you do that? Just for a second? I hope so. With that in mind, now let's use an example. Here's Jim. Jim's a fan of fixed camera angles. Jim plays Resident Evil 1, 2 and 3. All of a sudden, Resident Evil 4 comes out and it's third person. Jim doesn't like that, but he rides it out and thinks it's a good game. Then he gets Resident Evil 5. He doesn't like it very much, but appreciates that some fans of third person shooters may get a kick out of it. Then Resident Evil 6 comes out and Jim decides to throw himself in front of a car. Jim plays Resident Evil 6 and once again doesn't like it, but knows some folk do. Did I write that in? Huh. But one day, Jim walks into a store and sees Resident Evil 7 Biohazard, a slow-paced survival horror game like the originals with a first-person perspective. Jim really likes 7 and can't wait for more, but then he sees that an angry mob want to return to the days of Resident Evil 5 and 6, and Jim once again jumps in front of a car. My point is, fans like me that didn't like third person had to suffer through it for years. Now why is it fair to complain now when you're in that position of not liking the style? The rest of us dealt with it, it's about time you did too. When the first 3 were fixed camera and the second 3 were third person, it wasn't changed back just because the fixed camera fans complained. So while the rest of us are enjoying the unique changes brought upon by first person, stop expecting Capcom to change it back and either admit it's not your thing, which is perfectly fine, or go play Gears of War or something, I don't know.